Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nobody's Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat, I am your host, and for today's episode, we're going to talk about timing, specifically about whether your slow timing is actually an opportunity for you to acclimate to the change that's happening in your life, whatever that might be. I say this for anybody else like me who can often struggle with patience and with accepting that things are just happening as they need to. And of course, obviously, I don't want to say that everything in life happens for a reason and to always look at even the bad things with like positivity all the time, that toxic positivity, because I don't think that's beneficial or helpful because life sucks sometimes and it's okay to be in the headspace of this sucks and it's painful and that is what it is and I don't want to be here in this circumstance. Fair. I'm not trying to disregard that experience because that is part of life too. And sometimes you can't control those things. There's many things in life we can't control. However, one thing that I've been trying to do when it comes to my timing and looking at my timing and the way it's unfolding, I try to take that opportunity to look at it as an experience in terms of acclimation, acclimating to what is happening in my life. So whether that means you are on a journey with your career, with your creative endeavors, with a relationship, anything that you're kind of working towards, because I think so many things in life require that kind of effort, that work, the patience, whatever it is you're working towards, this waiting period is an opportunity for you to get comfortable in what your life is going to look like once you get that thing. And I think it's important for us to take that opportunity and let ourselves sit in it and really allow ourselves to accept it and experience it. Because when we get to that end goal, when we get to that thing that we really want, if we haven't acclimated to it, it's going to hit us really intensely. It's going to hit us like cold water because we're not expecting it. We're not prepared for it. And that's not to say that, you have to be prepared in advance and, step into this perfectionist headspace of I'm going to be perfectly ready to achieve it and experience it. And, I have to get it all ready before I can have this thing. No, of course, there are many things that once you get it, you then learn how to experience it, how to use it, how to best be in relationship with it. Of course, there are many things like that. But if your timing is slow and you're finding yourself ruminating on that and being really upset about how long something's taking and it's just taking forever and why does it have to take so long and you're getting anxious and antsy about how long it's taking, look at that time, look at that period of waiting as an opportunity for you to acclimate. This is essentially you stepping into a pool and getting more and more comfortable with the temperature so that when you finally get into it, neck deep, it's not as cold as it was when you first stepped in. And yes, obviously, some people love diving right into the pool and that's how they acclimate. They're like, you know what, I'm going to get it over with. I'm just going to feel the coldness and then I'll be fine and I'll get used to it. Fine. But that's not for everybody. And I don't think we should all be striving for that. For some of us, it does take time to acclimate to things and it's okay to lean into that. And if you are one of those people, stepping 1 foot at a time into the pool, it's okay. Your toes are cold. Now your foot is cold, but now your feet and your toes are getting warmer. Okay, next is your leg. Next is up to the knee. This waiting period, while it's taking a while, it requires patience before you can finally get into the pool and start swimming around. It's an opportunity for you to acclimate in a way that feels comfortable and safe for you. And sometimes people need that because, at least for me, in my own experience, immediately getting the thing can be very overwhelming to the point where then it might trigger my own avoidance. I might end up pushing that thing away. And I've noticed that happening in my life many times. And so I've had to really retrain myself to be more mindful of how I approach these things. Because yeah, obviously it's exciting to get it right away. Some people can handle it right away. So this isn't a universal thing, right? Some people can handle it right away and they figure it out and they thrive in that. But some people can't. And I'm one of those people. And I'm sure there's other people listening right now that are like that. I've learned to take this opportunity to lean into what works best for me, what timing works best for me. And if it's taking a while, it might just mean that this is necessary for you to acclimate so that when you get that thing, you don't self-sabotage, you don't push it away, you don't end the relationship because it's now so overwhelming, you weren't prepared for it. Take this time from where you are now, from point A until you get to point B, to let yourself really become enveloped in what you're trying to experience, what you want to get to. So as an example, if that is your creative endeavors, letting yourself step into the energy of, okay, I don't have this many followers yet, or I don't have this much recognition yet. I want this, but it's taking a while. So instead of being like, I want it now, because again, it can be very overwhelming to get that much recognition and attention and eyes on you and being so perceived. Let me sit in this patience, this time of waiting, and let me get comfortable with the idea of being perceived that much. Let me just get myself used to it. Let me think about it. Let me journal about it. Let me think about what I would do when I do get this experience and this overwhelming, recognition or haters or whatever. Let me get used to this. Let me think about it. Let me process it before I actually get it, because when it comes, it will happen, right? Those things will come with it. This also applies to relationships, like I said, right? You might want to really be in a relationship right now. You really want to, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be in a relationship. That is part of the human experience as well, because it feels great when you're in it, right? When you finally have it, when it's secure, it's safe, you're in the middle of it, you can trust that person, you're connected, you're intertwined, all those things. But maybe it's the early stages and it's taking time. People have to figure out their lives. People are taking their time to, just get comfortable with somebody. Maybe the circumstances aren't appropriate yet, but, the pacing might just be a little bit slow and you want to get from point A to point B. Take this opportunity to let yourself get comfortable and really understand what's going to come with being in that relationship, because it's not going to be all rainbows and sunshines all the time, right? When you finally get it, there's going to be a lot that comes along with it. There's going to be a lot of responsibility. There's going to be a lot of emotions. You're going to have to be more vulnerable. And if you haven't acclimated to those things yet, if you just want to get from point A where you are single and just a little bit more individualistic, maybe, to go from that to now being in a partnership with somebody, you're going to have to completely change those things. Not completely. You're going to have to change many of those things. You're going to have to alternate how you show up in many ways and pivot. And that can be overwhelming because now you have to consider another person. Now you have to act differently. You have to show up in ways that you didn't have to show up in when you were single. That can then potentially lead to sabotaging the relationship if you aren't ready for it yet. So take this period of waiting. Maybe you're living in different places, or, just things aren't moving very quickly. They're just taking their time. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't always mean that it's a good thing either, right? So obviously just be mindful of your circumstances. There's nuance to all of these things, but take this time in this waiting period before you get that thing to become comfortable with what you're going to have to deal with when you do get it. Because again, it's not always rainbows and sunshines. There are difficulties too, and that's okay. That is part of the human experience, and it is how you grow in many cases. So be ready for that, and also let yourself accept that your timing is your timing. This is what it is right now. You can't change it. You can't force it to go any faster. If you do try to force it, you might end up breaking it. Another lesson I've learned throughout my life. So if you're not going to force it, you want it to unfold as it needs to in its own pacing. What can you do in this time while you're waiting instead of, ruminating or being annoyed or frustrated because you don't have that thing yet and you're living in this headspace or emotional state of lack? What can you do instead? Let yourself get acclimated. Let yourself dip your toes in little by little, get more comfortable in the water before you can finally swim. Because once you are able to finally swim, you'll have more fun, right? It'll be more enjoyable for you if you are somebody who needs that time to acclimate. Again, somebody who can jump right in and they can start swimming, great. Love that for you. But if you're like me and you need that time to acclimate, do that now. This is your opportunity to do it. Take that opportunity. It's okay that it's taking time to get that thing that you want to get. And I do think that there are many things that unfold exactly as they need to. So the timing you have right now, the timing it takes is exactly what's needed for you. So, embrace it. Let yourself lean into it. Okay, it's taking time. I can't have this thing right now. Maybe it's for the better that I don't have it right now. Maybe I will get overwhelmed. Maybe I'm not quite in the headspace to handle it. So what can I do to prepare myself in some way? Because again, you can't be prepared for everything. That's also a headspace I can fall into as well, where I feel like, okay, now let me prepare for every scenario. That's not possible, of course. But what are some ways I can get prepared? Do I feel like I'm vulnerable enough to be in partnership with someone? Or, if I get into a relationship, will I avoid vulnerability and potentially sabotage things, right? Ask yourself those things. Am I ready to have all the followers, subscribers, readers, whatever your creative endeavor is? Am I ready for that? Am I ready for the criticism? Am I even ready for the praise? Because sometimes even getting praise can be overwhelming and uncomfortable. Get yourself prepared for that. Get yourself more comfortable with the idea of being praised or criticized or whatever comes along with that. Because it will probably happen and you will probably have to learn to handle it. So why not prepare in some small way, if possible, while you're waiting, rather than taking this opportunity in the waiting period to just be angry and frustrated and hating yourself and thinking I should have done this sooner. Why did it take me so long? let's be kinder to ourselves. Let's just be a little bit nicer and take this time to get yourself ready. And that's the only thing you can do. Just prepare a little bit, if possible. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was informative. If you want to work with me one-to-one and talk about these things, you can. I'm not a therapist, of course. I say that all the time. I just like to talk about these things. And if it resonates with you, then maybe we can have a conversation that's beneficial for you. You can also read some of my work on my Substack, and it's also a great way to just support my content if you're interested. And you can follow my social media for all other content that I create. Other than that, I'll be back again soon with another episode.